I will, I think, say good evening to you all. And thank you very much for joining us for this session on pancreatic cancer, diet, and you. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the specialist nurses working here at Pancreatic Cancer UK. I've been a nurse for over 25 years. Hate to think actually quite how many, but half of that time has been spent as a clinical nurse specialist looking after people with pancreatic cancer. And the last 6 years of that has been working here at Pancreatic Cancer UK, which has been a massive privilege and I love it dearly. I work here on the support line, providing support and information along with my other nursing colleagues to patients and family members who have been affected by pancreatic cancer. So as people are just settling in this evening, a little hello. Tonight we're going to be talking about what does the pancreas do? What diet and digestive symptoms can people with pancreatic cancer experience? How you can manage these symptoms? What is pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy, otherwise known as PERT? You'll see it written down as PERT a lot, and who needs to take it? Questions about what food you should or shouldn't eat. So what can you eat? What should you avoid? And then we'll go on to answering any specific questions and letting you know where you can find further information and support. Before we begin, I'd just like to introduce Anisah, who's the star of the show this evening. She's joining me. We're delighted to have Anisah joining us. She's a hepatobiliary and pancreatic, or otherwise known as HPB specialist, dietitian working at Manchester Royal Infirmary. Anisah, if you're happy, would you like just to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa, for the introduction. So, like Lisa said, I am a HPV dietitian. I work quite closely with patients that are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and going for surgery, particularly. But I've been a dietitian for longer than that, so I'm nearly getting to over the 2 year mark. So speaking about food, nutrition, it is in my day-to-day job. So I'm very glad to be doing that tonight as well.
Fab. We are absolutely delighted to have you, and thank you so much. I'll now hand over to you, Anisah, if that's okay, because you'll be leading our session. I'll be contributing here and there as well, but my colleague Nikki's also here in the background to answer any questions that you might have throughout the evening. So please do post them as just a little reminder, questions into the Q&A. Any other comments you have that we might come to can go into the chat. And we'll have dedicated time at the end for a kind of specific question and answer session. So if you've got any thoughts or experiences you'd like to share, we'd welcome them using the chat. But for now, over to you, Anisah.
Thank you. So today we'll be talking about mainly the pancreas, what it does, talk about PERT, as Lisa's mentioned, and the first thing we're talking about is what does the pancreas do? So the pancreas has two main jobs. One is to help control our blood sugars, and the second is it produces enzymes, and these are what helps break down our food, our digestive enzymes. When the digestive enzymes are released and it breaks down our food, it's released into the rest of the stomach. But the main function is to note that it does two main jobs. When you have cancer, the pancreas can become quite poorly and it might not work as well as it used to, and it might not produce the enzymes it needs to help digest those enzymes. This is when we call this pancreatic exocrine insufficiency. And what that basically means is it unfortunately just isn't producing enough enzymes like it used to. So, what are digestive symptoms that people can experience with pancreatic cancer? There's a range of symptoms some people can experience. Sometimes they can't experience them and they're asymptomatic, but it's nice to know what the different symptoms can be. Some of them can be feeling sick or being sick, having pale, greasy poo. So a lot of people come into clinic say it can look green, it can look yellow, or it just looks very pale. Tummy pain can be quite common, so as tummy pain alongside with bloating, reflux or heartburn, passing wind, burping or farting, can be both. Diarrhea, increased tiredness, weight loss, and your blood sugars may struggle to stay in range. Some people can experience some of the symptoms, some people can experience all, and like I said earlier on, some may not experience any symptoms at all. Everyone is different and come with a whole combination of symptoms, but it's nice to know the breadth of symptoms that some people can experience. So based in my own experience in clinic, there's many different symptoms out there that people can experience. Lisa, what symptoms do you tend to come across quite common in your job?
I would say, thanks for that, everything there, I would say most people experience a lot of those symptoms. I would say probably, give an example, the 3 people I spoke to on our support line today, 2 out of the 3 of those people all experienced a plethora of those symptoms. So I think they are really, really common. You are right, some people don't have symptoms, but I would say more often than not, the nurses on the support line here, I would say almost every call we get ends up being in part a discussion about people's digestive symptoms. And sometimes it can just be that they've got tummy pain and they think it's pain, and their problem is their pain. But actually, often that tummy pain, as you suggested, is related to not producing enough enzymes. Yeah.
That's very interesting to know. I think with me being based in a surgical centre, it definitely does vary a lot in terms of whether people experience symptoms or not.
Yeah. I think almost everybody we speak to has some symptoms. Not everybody, but almost everybody. And somebody I can see there's put in that they experience loss of appetite as well. And I think that do you experience that with your patients in clinic?
That's a big one for me, loss of appetite. It tends to be the first thing that people tell me, loss of appetite. And I wonder if it's because I'm a dietitian, but it's definitely a common symptom that I do come across.
Yeah, I think people's appetites diminish. Somebody's saying that is it the loss of appetite a symptom, or is it a symptom of the chemotherapy? And I'm not sure if we're going to touch on that later or not. I'm not sure we are actually. And I think chemotherapy will affect how people feel, and that they will feel some of the nausea and some of the sickness that we've talked about. But a lot of the other symptoms are probably more related. I'm interested to hear what you think, but probably more related to the digestive symptoms and not having enough enzymes.
Definitely, I do agree.
Yeah. Next.
So we have a little poll for you guys. It'd be really interesting for us to know if you experience any of the symptoms. So just fill out the poll and we'll discuss that in detail once you guys are done. Oh,
can you see the results there, Anisah? They've just come up for us.
Yes, now I can see it. It was a bit blurry before. It seems like there's a good range across all the symptoms. It's not, it's a good split. The most common it seems like is the increased wind, which it's quite common related to digestion, because digestion usually, if it is residing in the bowel, we're not digesting our food properly, burping and farting can be a big sign. But it's nice to see that the symptoms are quite varied, and it shows that every person is different, and it will depend on you and how your body reacts to lack of enzymes with the symptoms that you get.
Yeah, I find a lot of my discussions on the support line are often related. I say to patients, I'm sorry to be quite so crude, but a lot of my discussions each day are about farting, burping, wind, tummy cramps, and bowel movements, and that is a lot of what our job is, to help tease those things out.
It definitely comes more natural to us because we do spend a lot of time of our jobs talking about it, and I appreciate it might not be the same for others.
Yeah. Interesting, in the chat I can see, Anisah, there's a lot of people saying yes, all of those symptoms or most of those symptoms. Burping, feeling bloated, grumbly tummy, people talk about as well, that sort of bourgerismus with all those nasty noises going on in that tummy. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. So talking about enzyme insufficiency, the next part is we're going to talk about is pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy, also known as PERT. and I'll talk more about why it's important. So, to start off with, what is PERT? Like I said, pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy. What that basically means, broken down, is it's a medication which helps replace the job of the pancreas. And what I describe in clinic most of the time, it's artificial enzymes which your pancreas probably isn't producing as much anymore. And this will now help to break down your food. There's multiple different brands available in the UK. So one of the common ones that you'll hear is Creon, and that comes in 10,000 units and 25,000 unit capsules. What the units basically mean is just the amount of enzymes per capsule. The other brands also available is Nutrizyme. We have a powder version, which some people, if they're on a enteral feed, so a feed that's being given artificially rather than food itself, that powder is used a lot more often. And there are other brands out there available, and it really depends on your area and if there is a shortage in terms of what enzyme you'll get. So it will differ. Right, here's another poll for you guys. It'd be interesting for us to know if anybody is taking any PERT. Oh, and the results are up. So it seems like a majority of you guys that are here today are aware of PERT or are taking PERT, which is really good. It would be nice for us to also go through the information on what PERT is and how to take it. But it's nice to know that we're talking about something that's definitely relevant and to you guys. Okay, so PERT, who needs it? PERT can be for anyone diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, whether you're getting symptoms or not. A lot of people on this pathway do tend to start PERT. People that have had any surgery relating to their pancreas, so any surgery that involves their pancreas, most likely you will need PERT. There are some exceptions, but your local team will help with helping whether you need PERT or not. But most people who have surgery do end up with PERT. And anyone with any damage that has happened to their pancreas that impacts how much enzymes that your pancreas produces, they can also end up on PERT. And here's another poll. It's been very interesting for us to know how confident you feel about understanding PERT.
Just while people are answering the question there, I can see in the chat a few people have put things like, how do I know if I'm taking enough PERT and things? I think we're going to be coming on to these questions, and this is exactly the poll that's going to start answering those questions for you. So I'm not entirely ignoring those questions, but we will hopefully answer them as we carry on through the talk. And if we don't, we can come back to the question and answer session and answer them specifically.
And the results are up. It seems like a good split again between the how confident we are is and the most is the somewhat confident. So I'm hoping this session today helps give everyone a level base in understanding PERT a bit more, but also hopefully answer some questions that you guys have out there. Okay, so how do I take it? The most common one that I come across in practice tends to be Creon 25,000 or Nutrizyme 22,000. So those are two of the different brands that we talked about. We say the starter minimum dose is 3 capsules with meals. So that's your main meals that I'm talking about, and then 2 capsules with any snacks. So that can be, cheese and crackers, a yogurt pot, any puddings that we might have, so cake and custard. Sometimes, depending on the portion size as well, can go up. Any nourishing drinks, so I'm thinking very milky lattes or cappuccinos or milkshakes. Those are a few examples in terms of the 2 you would take with snacks or puddings. I would say take a capsule with a cold drink. Try avoid taking it with a hot drink because it is an enzyme, so you want to make sure that it's working and you don't want to damage it with hot drinks. And what you need to do is start mimicking the way your pancreas normally works. So your pancreas is a very clever, it's very clever. It releases enzymes very slowly throughout a full meal. And now you'll have to start doing that manually. So we say spread it out. I usually say to everyone that comes in clinic, have the first one at the first bite of your food, second one halfway through your meal, and third one when you've got a few spoons left of your meal. And that way you know that you're spreading it out throughout the full meal.
Can I add to that?
Yes, of course.
Because that's great, and absolutely right. I can just see a few comments going into the chat as well. So just to reiterate what Denise has just said is it's really good to spread it out the meal. So you're mimicking what your pancreas is normally doing or was previously doing and producing the enzymes it knows that you need. Somebody's put a comment there about how do you know if you're taking enough. So I think are we going to talk about that in a minute, or am I jumping ahead? How do you know somebody's taking enough, Anisah? Are we coming on to that?
I don't think we're going to come into that, but I can answer it. It really
Yeah.
depends. It really depends on you, and what symptoms you are getting, if you are getting any. So I usually say if you are taking the minimum dose and you're taking it correctly, that would be the first step I would take, making sure you're spreading it out, making sure we don't take it with any cold drinks. The other thing I would say is making sure we're storing it correctly. If we know that the Creon is working and we're taking it the best way we can, there's no harm in increasing and up titrating the dose. So what that means is basically taking one extra with your meals and one extra with your snacks. And if your symptoms are improving, that's a sign that it was related to your enzyme insufficiency. And once we're taking enough dose to stop those symptoms, we know that we're on the right dose. The beauty of this medicine is it's a very safe drug. It's just enzymes. So there's no such thing as overdosing with Creon. So we very much would rather say take more enzymes until your symptoms have settled, rather than take less and have symptoms that can impact your day-to-day life.
So it is, just to reiterate, and this is really important, and what I tell patients day in, day out, is it's about having the right dose for you. So if you still have those symptoms that Anisah talked about at the beginning, which is the wind, the gas, the bloating, the tummy cramps, the urgency to run to open your bowels after food, some of the taste changes that you might have, a lot of those things are very often related to not enough enzymes. So as she suggested, you can try, and sometimes I will say, if you're not quite sure if it's the chemotherapy giving you the diarrhea, or you're not sure if it's the cancer giving you the pain, you can increase your dose by one, see how it goes for 4 or 5 days. If those symptoms have improved, then probably your PERT dosing, your Creon dosing is better suited to you with a higher dose. And you can always come back to us on the support line and rediscuss this, or speak to your hospital team, whether it's a dietitian or the nurse specialist in the hospital. They would be more than happy to try and help you to get this right. So please do come back, because this is key. People have started on a dose, and I saw somebody saying they were prescribed one tablet with meals and snacks. I would be amazed if that's enough for you. That everybody's portions are different meals you'll need different amounts for, and that's part of the learning that Anisah was talking about. I often give an example of, if you're going to have an apple and a Jacob's cream cracker and a low fat spread of cheese, you'll barely need any Creon with that, probably. But major extreme, if you're going to go to the chippy and have I know you'd love to, but if you feel like it and you wanted to, deep fried fish and chips, you're going to need several with that. So it's knowing what you're eating to some extent, how much fat and how much protein and carbohydrates in your meal. So fat and protein especially need this Creon to work, but also how much is your portion. So it's balancing those things. And the other thing I just wanted, I've got perhaps more of an eye on the chat than you have, Anisah, sorry to interrupt you again, but somebody asked specifically about, can they open capsules and sprinkle it on the food? And thanks, Nikki, I think you've in part answered that. But it's really, really going back to how you take it, or how you don't, specifically how you don't take Creon. Don't take it with a hot drink, because that will wash the tablet down and activate them too quickly. So if they get activated, they work in the wrong part of your stomach. So we want them to not quite work that quickly. So don't have it with a hot drink. I'll come back to that one. But don't sprinkle them don't open them and sprinkle them on your food. They won't work that way. Do you want to talk about how you can take them if you really need to open a capsule? Do you want me to say that, or would you like to?
I don't mind at all. So short answer is you can open them, but I would be very careful. If you have to do it, we would make sure you have it with something acidic. So what I usually say is something like apple puree, applesauce, and making sure that you mix the little granules. So if you look at Creon, it has little circles, is what I'll say in clinic, and those circles are the enzymes. We want to make sure if you are opening them, mix them well in this applesauce or whatever acidic fruit puree you have, and then taking it. And once you do take it, we don't want those, as soon as you open them, the enzymes start working. So you don't want them sitting around your mouth. So once you've finished eating and had your Creon, making sure you have plenty of water, rinse your mouth out to make sure there's no little balls stuck around your mouth or your teeth or your gums where they can unfortunately cause unpleasant symptoms such as mouth ulcers or mouth dental pain, which we want to avoid.
Fab. Thank you. That's really important. So people are often told they can't open them. We don't, as Anisah says, we try not to let people do that because of the mouth ulcers and things that they can cause. So we're really, really cautious of that. But if you really are somebody or your loved one, somebody that really can't swallow tablets, and they are big. I saw somebody put a question about that earlier. They're massive. I think they're like horse pills. So I commend anybody that swallows them. If you really, really, really can't swallow them, yes, you can open them as Anisah's described, but just be very careful how you do that. Thank you.
Just before I move on, I'll quickly add I have come across in clinic quite a bit in terms of Creon 25,000 getting mixed up with Creon 10,000, and then people are thinking, why am I suddenly getting symptoms? It's just being aware that the 10,000 has less enzymes, so making sure you're on the right dose. And if you are on the 10,000, you think, why is it not working compared to the 25,000? It's just it's got less enzymes, so you might need more of it.
And generally, most patients probably in our group today will need the higher dose tablets. Otherwise, you're going to be taking lots of them. I'm not going to say specifically for, but the 10,000 ones are more often used in either pediatrics, so children, or cystic fibrosis patients who have them for a different reason. Not entirely. So if you've got 10,000, that is fine. But most patients would be better with a higher dose capsule, so you don't need to take so many at a time. And there are some patients that I speak to that take 1 or 2 capsules with a meal, and there are other patients with the same meal that would need 6 capsules. So it really depends. Going back to those symptoms again, you'll hear me say it time and time again, go back to those symptoms. And I'm sure we will be posting our PERT fact sheet on our information, and perhaps it'll come out in the email, I'm sure, at the end. But we have a fact sheet which talks about all those symptoms that Anisah mentioned earlier, just to remind you what those are. Thank you.
So moving on, what foods should I eat or avoid eating? Before we start, let's have a look at where you get your health information from.
There is a reason why we put this little slide in, isn't there, which we will come to. A couple of people putting in a mixture or all of these.
And the results are out. You're right, Lisa, it is quite a bit of a mixture across. It's nice to see that healthcare professionals are quite high at 76%. So we're definitely getting out there, but there's definitely a mixture between AI and Google and online. So it's nice. It'll be interesting to see what information different services give as well.
I think part of the reason why we added this slide in was just as an awareness for people, that we have seen when we've been looking on sort of Google type platforms and things, that sometimes you get pop up with an AI summary of what your question is, and some of that information isn't always reputable or even accurate. So just, I guess it's a plea for us. It's not here to promote our information. We do have, I think, very good peer-reviewed information which other healthcare professionals have helped us write. So what our information is, I think and hope, is brilliant, and I'd absolutely signpost you to use it, but mainly just to caution people in case they just use an AI platform to search for information that it isn't always accurate. We definitely saw something quite recently that which was totally and utterly wrong. Just be a little bit cautious.
Okay, going on to what foods should I eat? This is a very common question I get almost every day. And I think the first and biggest message I probably will give is it's not about restricting, it's about looking at what we can add to our diet more than restricting. Um, with your pancreas feeling poorly and not producing enough enzymes, sometimes we can lack in energy and we might not be absorbing all the food that we're eating. So focusing on high energy and high protein foods, so foods that have enough calories in it, protein being your fish, meat, eggs, lentils, dairy products to help with our muscles and making sure that we're staying strong. A few examples of high energy can include cream cakes, biscuits, any milky foods, the dairy foods I talked about, so yogurts, ice creams, sausage rolls. There's a whole mixture of foods out there that are focused on that high energy and high protein. As someone mentioned earlier, a loss of appetite can be a symptom of lack of enzymes. And if you are struggling, please do reach out. Go to places like here, Pancreatic Cancer UK, reach out to your local team because there are some supplements that you can be prescribed. And what I mean by supplements are, I describe them as build-up shakes. Some of you might have heard of them, 46 or Ensures. These are specially made so that they have enough calories and protein and a lot of nutrients in them, which can help keep your weight and your strength. Just a little disclaimer out there, if you are on any of these build-up shakes or do need them in the future, you still will need to take some PERT with these, and I usually say treat it as a snack, so take the two with a full bottle of Pancreatic or a two with any shake you have, and then increase as you need. And if you have been diagnosed with diabetes, as that can be a symptom with your pancreas feeling poorly, this advice might slightly change and might need to be adjusted to you and your diabetes and how well that is managed.
I think I would just add, if I may, going back to the diabetes point, because I could just see a comment in the questions there. We would usually say somebody with diabetes and pancreas cancer that we want you to eat. We want you to have all those high energy, high protein, calorific foods that Anisah's mentioned. It is a balance of managing your diabetes and not having very high blood sugars. So do go back to your diabetic teams or your healthcare providers to help you manage those blood sugars better. We would rather that you eat as well as you can for you, that you take the right amount of pancreatic enzymes to manage any symptoms you have of not having enough enzymes, but that you absorb and use that food so you don't lose the weight, that you keep that weight on, you have the energy, you don't have those enzyme insufficiency symptoms. But if that does mean that you need either more metformin if you're on tablets, or if you needed to switch to insulin, so be it. It's much better that you have help managing those blood sugars at a manageable level. And if that requires you to have more medication, I'm sorry, but that is absolutely the right thing to do. So don't take away those foods, but do speak to your healthcare team to get those blood sugars managed into a better way for you. And it is a juggling act, but it is really important. And you'll find that taking pancreatic enzymes correctly might increase somebody's blood sugars because you're absorbing the carbohydrates and things better. So you may find that your blood sugars go up a little bit. So if you were managing your diabetes without any medication before, you may go on to find that your diabetes becomes a little bit worse and you may need some medication. But we would rather that and have you eating better and getting the calories that you need. Would you agree, Anisah? Sorry, taking over your
No, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I think it is very much a balancing act and trying to figure out what works for you. But definitely taking away the food is not the solution because that's what helps keep your weight and your strength. And also, if you're eating less, just because you're not getting symptoms with your blood sugar doesn't mean that it's not causing any issues with your weight, your strength, how you feel, and your energy, which also equally matter.
Yeah. And I can just see somebody has popped in the chat. Should you take more enzymes if you have a high fat meal? I know we're going to come to the official Q&A, but that's a quick win, I think.
Short answer, yes.
Yes.
Um, it's more fatty, so there's a lot more to be absorbed and digested. So taking a bit more is not going to harm you.
And you hopefully won't get the nasty symptoms of your tummy cramps and extra wind and gas, and you use that energy. So yes, more PERT if you're having a fatty meal generally would be the rule.
Okay. So, what foods should I avoid? Like I said earlier, nothing. I know it sounds too hard to believe, but it's true. There's nothing that you need to avoid. And if I talk more about picking this apart, there's actually no evidence to suggest that avoiding certain foods make your symptoms better. And there's been many papers on this in terms of trying to find any links, and there isn't any. It's all about focusing on what we can add in to your diet, how your diet looks overall, making sure we're getting a good balance in rather than taking away foods. Because the moment we start taking away foods, that can lead to issues like weight loss, feeling weak, not absorbing enough and getting enough nutrients in. And these are all things that your body needs to help it function, keep it moving, keep you happy, and keep you going about your day-to-day life. And if we break that a bit down a bit more, we get a lot of different myths and different questions out there in terms of food. But at the end of the day, it's all the food is going to be broken down for your body to use. So, started off with one of the myths that we often get, um, and you might have seen online or through other places of getting information, such as Google. First myth is sugar is cancer causing or makes cancer worse. This is definitely a myth, and that's because sugar is not harmful. It won't make your cancer worse because at the end of the day, anything you eat will be broken down into sugar. That's how your body uses it. So eating out, having foods such as um, sugary foods aren't going to cause you harm. And if you think more on the other side of healthy foods, so fruit and vegetables, that's also sugar because that will get broken down into sugar to help you use it. So at the end of the day, having foods, whether you perceive them as having more sugar or foods that are healthier, they all get broken down and used in a similar way. So avoiding this, especially foods such as your cakes, such as your custards, even your yogurt pots that have other benefits such as energy, protein, and taking that away might cause you more harm based on this myth alone. I don't know if Lisa, you hear that a lot as well in your line of practice.
We do. We get people who will phone and either say they're specifically they won't have sugar because they've read that it's not good. Another thing, so sometimes about vitamins and things, which I think we're probably coming on to. But yes, people do really think that sugar is the enemy sometimes. And I would always say sugar actually at the moment can be your friend. It's good
Definitely.
calories. It's cheap and easy calories like your creams and your ice creams.
It's a quick way to get it in, your
Yeah,
calories.
yeah.
There are some other myths as well. The next one being plant-based enzymes can replace PERT. So I hear this a lot as well in clinics. So you'll find in some health stores out there that they'll say that they have enzymes that will help do it, help do the same in terms of digesting your food, and they can be plant-based. Unfortunately, it's a myth. There is no evidence to say that it works the same way as the PERT that we suggest. and there's no evidence to say that it's working effectively. So I would go with what your local provider has suggested for you in terms of enzymes, because we don't want you to switch over to something which may not work properly or may not give you the full benefits, and you end up getting symptoms with such as your stomach pain, your pale stools. It can also impact, if you are diabetic, your blood sugars. So it's best to stick with what we know that works, and that's based on evidence as well. And we can also help you in terms of adjusting it. The current Creon and PERT that we have is animal based, so it tends to be porcine based, and that's just because the evidence says that this is the most effective in terms of being the closest to what our body produces in itself, and that's why we use it. Do you have anything else to add to that, Lisa?
No, I think you've covered. It's usually, from me, it would be an absolute no. Don't go to your health food shop and buy the over-the-counter equivalent. I did see a comment, somebody asking if, because of the UK shortage of Creon, it might be something that comes up in the Q&A. There has been, and there is a continuing ongoing shortage about accessing enough pancreatic enzymes for some patients, and specifically Creon. If you're facing this as a problem, please do come back to us on the support line, because we can signpost you to some helpful telephone numbers. Nobody should go without properly prescribed UK PERT. The other answer is also that yes, it can be brought in from other countries, but that has to go through your healthcare professional. So you should not go without. There are ways around it. If you can't get Creon, do come back to us if there's a problem. And I think Nikki has put our support line number, thank you, in the chat there.
And the next one is a low-fat diet. Oh, I can't see the rest of the slide.
A low-fat diet should be followed, is what it says.
A low-fat diet should be followed. Again, that is a myth. You've got to, it goes back to the same principle of we need the calories and we need the protein to make sure that we're getting all the foods, keeping our energy up. And a fat is a very good source of those calories. There's nothing to say that a low-fat diet will help in terms of your pancreas and how it feels. And it's not the enemy. It's, again, a very light sugar, very quick way, a very good way to get those calories in. And with the enzymes, hopefully we can get the right balance in terms of absorbing it as well.
Good. Nothing further to add on that one. Next myth.
And oh, I can't read the last one either.
I'll read it for you, Bessie. It says vitamins and herbal supplements can cure the cancer.
Again, this is a myth. Similar to based on a plant-based, there's no evidence to suggest that it can cure or get rid of cancer. Vitamins and minerals are just in general can supplement you based on your health and well-being, but it's not related to the cancer or related to your pancreas. So overall, it's a myth.
Yeah, indeed. And what we might say is that people may be low in fat-soluble vitamins. This is a different kind of question. Vitamin and herbal supplements are suggested there is a myth. It's not going to cure your cancer, sadly, but you may benefit if you are possibly depleted in your own vitamins by taking a vitamin supplement or multivitamin sometimes. Would you recommend that to some patients?
Definitely, especially if you've been on PERT for a while, I'd suggest going back to your GP or your local medical team and making sure that we're on at least yearly monitoring to make sure whether we're absorbing those fat soluble vitamins and if you need to start on one. But it would definitely be based on you and making sure we're getting those regular checkups in.
Yeah. Good.
So, do I need to be seen by a dietitian? It's a good thing we've got a dietitian today. So to start off with, it's actually understanding what our role is and what we do. So as a dietitian, we use a lot of evidence base to help support and help you understand the relationship between food and your health. We are regulated, but like how a doctor is regulated and a nurse is regulated by their own little bodies. Therefore, all the information we give has to be accurate, evidence-based, and safe. As dietitians and dietitians in this, as a specialist in this area, we work a lot in terms of what you eat and drink, and if that impacts you in terms of your weight or your strength with your muscles. Talking about PERT as well. If you've newly started on PERT, we definitely can go through in terms of what dose you're taking, if you're taking it correctly, if you've taken enough as well. So going back to earlier, if you are struggling with any symptoms, going back to like Pancreatic Cancer UK, any your own medical team or your own dietitian, and being referred to a dietitian so we know that we're taking it correctly for you. And if you are already on PERT, if you're getting symptoms like your stomach bloating or your pale stools, we can also help be a bit of a detective and diagnose whether it's related to PERT and change things around with you.
So ask to see a dietitian, I think, is key if you need one.
And key things to remember. So just to recap, the pancreas has two main jobs, one being your blood sugar control, and the second is it produces these enzymes which help break down our food. And again, when you have pancreatic cancer, your pancreas isn't feeling too great, it can affect one or both of these functions. There's a large, wide variety of symptoms that you might be experiencing. So a few of them we've discussed repeatedly, like pale stools, your bloating, weight loss, and that can be because your body's not producing enough enzymes and therefore not breaking down your food properly. And that's where PERT comes in. So some of the brands such as Creon and Nutrizyme, and this is basically artificial enzymes which will help break down your foods and your nourishing drinks. Going on to foods, don't avoid anything, making sure we're increasing it with high calories, high protein foods, and this will help maintain your weight and your strength. And then, like I just touched upon, dietitian can help with finding your solutions if you are experiencing any weight loss, strength, loss of appetite, or any ongoing symptoms related to your PERT. I'd say if you're in doubt, if you're struggling, just reach out. And then it's best to know where you're getting your information from. So the best thing is to always talk to a healthcare professional, someone who is specialized in this field, and try not get it from sources that we don't know that aren't accurate. And again, like Lisa touched up today, this is an amazing platform because a lot of the information that is being given out is accurate. And finally, you're not alone. So there's many of you that have joined us today. There's many of us that have talked about pancreas and pancreatic cancer a lot. So it's really nice to know that there's a huge community out there and we're here to help.
Thanks, Anisah. That's been brilliant. I've just got a couple of words to say before we thank you formally, and we also go on to the questions and answers. But we wanted just to touch at the end really about who else you can contact, as Anisah was suggesting, for support. We thought it'd be really important to let you know that at Pancreatic Cancer UK, we are here, as Anisah said, to support you and your loved ones every step of the way. So we are here for both patients and family members. If you'd like to speak to the specialist nurses like myself or Nikki and receive personalised support, you'd be very, very welcome. We'd love to hear from you. There are several ways you can do that. You can call us on our support line number, and I know it's been put in the chat a couple of times, and we'll follow on from this session in an email. But the support line number is a telephone number of 0808 801 0707. The email's also there. You can email us and we'll get back to you, and that would be at nurse@pancreaticcancer.org.uk. And we've also set up a WhatsApp service as well. So we've got a WhatsApp number which you can see there. And just to point out, the WhatsApp service is just a typing service. You can't phone us on them. We can't take voice calls on it, but please, by all means, send us messages, whichever format is your preference, either by phone, email, or WhatsApp, and we'd love to hear from you and hopefully help answer further questions. If you've got questions that have come out from today, then please just get in touch and we can go back over things and delve in things more deeply for you. We've also got lots of information on our website, so there's lots of stuff to read that you can order for paper copies or you can download. And finally, we know it can feel really isolating and can be difficult to connect with other people who are sharing similar circumstances as yourselves. So we've actually created something called Circles, which has been up and running probably for just over a year, I think. And this is a community which holds spaces on both Facebook and WhatsApp, and you can share your experiences, you can ask questions, and everything in between with people who just get it and are living through this like you. So you might ask, what is Circles? We've set this up really to provide this peer-to-peer support, so patient-to-patient, family member-to-family member support for people like you who want to connect with others sharing similar experiences. We've had some wonderful feedback from people, so hopefully you'd find this really helpful. There are different groups, and these are all done online. So the groups are hosted as suggested through WhatsApp and Facebook. And there are different groups. You can choose what you'd like. And specific examples, I think there's 6 or 7 groups up and running at the moment. But as we're running a diet session today, there's a cookery group, there's a nutrition and recipe sharing group. There's also moments of joy. There's a 3 a.m. club group. And I think there are specific ones as well for patients only. And then for carers and family members, if you have sort of slightly different needs and want to be in a different group like that, you can select that. And there's a surgery group as well. So we'd love you to join those if you think that's something that would be helpful for you. And then finally, just a couple of quotes, hopefully to encourage you to join this. Really, I appreciate it's not necessarily for everybody. For those that have joined it, they've loved it. And you can see a couple of comments here. I was scared when I was diagnosed, but Circles helped me find support from people who are experiencing similar emotions. And somebody else said that it's just so good to know there are people there for you. And really it's about sharing these moments and people actually finding somebody else that gets what they're going through. So if that sounds appealing, you can find that on our website. If you go in the Support for You tab on the website, you will then see there's a Circles option there, so you can join the Circles community that way. Right. A massive thank you, Anisah, for sharing all that information to us. You've been full of, I hope, tips that are really helpful for people, really good information, gone over lots of key points that will help people today. So thank you so much. It's been massively appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Really, it has been a real pleasure to have you. So thank you. I know that I've gone almost over time, not quite, but almost. So we've got a few questions in our Q&A section, which I'm going to go and read out, and hopefully between us we can answer, if that's okay, Anisah?
Yeah.
The first one says, so we've been told no supplements by the hospital dietitian except for vitamin D and omega-3s. I have, however, read that other cancer patients benefit from vitamin C IV. Please clarify. So this, I think, is about vitamin supplements, perhaps not necessarily in the form of tablets. Do you have any experience of vitamin C infusions?
I don't tend to suggest one specific vitamins over another. So there's a range of fat-soluble vitamins as well. It really is depending on you, how much you're eating and drinking, how well you're taking your PERT. So I'd say always go back to making sure you get your blood tests done regularly, and it's probably better to take a standard multivitamin to make sure we're covering all the vitamins bases. There's no evidence to suggest that having it IV or having it separately is more beneficial than taking the standard multivitamin dose.
Yeah, I think we have had in the past, we've had people come through the support line asking specifically about vitamin C infusions. I do know, I wouldn't say I know of, but I have heard that there are a couple of clinics that do give vitamin C infusions to patients in the private sector. And I would say exactly as Anisah does, that I don't think the evidence is there for us to be able to advocate for that. I think if you're looking at it as a therapy to treat your cancer, then I don't think we can advocate for that. Do your own research and make your own mind up, but it's not something that we would advocate for. We would suggest as you initially said, annual checks on vitamin levels and therefore supplementing any of those that were missing to a normal level. And yeah, I think that hopefully covers that. The next one again is on vitamin questions. So after a Whipple's procedure, is it safe to have vitamin D? Any other vitamins or supplements, are they recommended? And is it better to have vitamin D and it says K2, unless I'm missing, that might be B12 possibly, or does it not matter? Is it K2? I'm not sure. Any vitamins or supplements recommended post Whipples?
Again, there's no evidence to suggest one specific vitamin or supplement over the other. The reason why you might be suggested to take an overall vitamin post Whipple surgery is because what that surgery does, it removes a part of your bowel, and that part of your bowel can help absorb vitamins. So that's probably why you were recommended a multivitamin, but there's nothing to say that a specific vitamin can cause you harm or a specific vitamin is better. Again, it's just based on the evidence that we don't have a lot to suggest that there's different benefits or harms with specific vitamins.
So I suggest certainly if you're a year post Whipples, certainly getting general vitamin levels checked. If any of those are depleted, then you can discuss about what would be better to supplement. Thank you. Is Creon designed to offset the digestive symptoms? And if so, how much benefit can we hope to achieve? Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Yeah.
Well, Creon, it's basically an enzyme which breaks down your food, and when that food's not broken down because we're not taking enough Creon or we're not taking it at all, that's when we get symptoms. So because of taking Creon, it can help with managing symptoms, and that's just because of how it works.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I would absolutely agree. I think if you're using the enzymes that your body's not able to produce, so the Creon is mimicking that, you absorb your food better. You're not what we call malabsorbing, so you're not producing all that extra gas that causes you the wind, the bloating, the tummy cramps, that real wind pain. Those type of digestive symptoms should improve if you get your enzyme balance better with Creon. So absolutely it should improve. And often if it hasn't improved enough or improved a bit, I would encourage somebody to try a bit more.
Completely agree, Lisa.
Good. Next question. I've had a Whipple and susceptible to Crohn's. I'm on chemo and encouraged to eat low fibre and high calorie food. What's the best way to manage when undertaking activities like golf when I'm not having access to a toilet for up to 4 hours? Bless you. So it's a balance of perhaps chemo-induced diarrhea, possibly Crohn's adding to that, and managing periods of time when a toilet is not necessarily right on hand. And well done. I'm going to say well done, caller, but well done, caller, for getting out on the golf course.
Definitely. I would say it's definitely going to be a bit of a trial and error, trying to figure out what works for you, but definitely don't skip out on the food. Eating little amounts more often might help with regulating bowel activity, but also if you are taking PERT, if you're not, go back and see whether you need PERT, because some of those symptoms can be better managed if it's related to PERT. Sometimes we can get more symptoms related to your loose stools, your diarrhea, your pale stools, if you're not taking enough PERT as well. So I think it's just don't cut out your food, making sure we're having the high energy foods as well, but also looking at the other side of it and looking at PERT.
I think, sorry to say, Neil, I'm not sure there is a magic answer to that. I think it is, as Anisah says, is managing your Creon as best you can. Maybe you will have some days which perhaps are better than others, i.e. through your chemotherapy cycle, you may find there are days when your bowels behave a bit better and you'll find a pattern that's better for you for that. Not that I want to limit any of your activities, but that might help a little bit as well. Before I carry on with the rest of the questions, because there are a few more to come, I just wanted to be aware that we are approaching 7 o'clock, and I know the webinar is supposed to run until 7. Anisah's kindly happy to answer a few more questions, which we'll continue with, if that's okay with you.
That's okay.
If anybody has to go, by all means, please do. And it's been lovely having you. But the rest of you happy to stay on just for a few more minutes. We'll try and get through the questions. So somebody's asked, can you take Creon without water? As sometimes I don't have access to water when I'm out and about.
In a short answer, yes, but you've got to think making sure it's like cold, not a too hot of a drink because we want to make sure that Creon's working well. And again, if you yes, you can take it without water if needed.
You can, I would say if you're taking it with nothing, it will still work, i.e. if you can swallow a capsule that big without a liquid to get it down, you can. It's not the water that helps it, it's just getting it into your stomach where there will be other liquids to help it digest. But yes, not with a hot drink. I started taking PERT after surgery about 3 to 6 months, and then I was advised to stop taking it. I had surgery in March 2024, so that's, I think, a comment, and I might just answer that if I might broadly and just say there are some patients who don't need to take pancreatic enzymes after surgery. It is purely really based on your symptoms. If that was the question, should you be taking it? If you're not losing weight, you're maintaining your weight, you're 2 years post surgery, maybe you don't need it. If you're losing weight, you're underweight, or you have any of the symptoms that we talked about before, you should be taking PERT, I think. I hope that was what the question was alluding to. Do you have anything else to add to that, Anisah?
Completely agree. It probably is also the type of surgery you go through can impact whether you need PERT or not. So I think it is very individualized to that person.
Yeah, I don't want to put a blanket answer to that, but people who have a distal pancreatectomy, so the tail of the pancreas removed, are sometimes the people that might not need either as much PERT or don't need PERT. But it's very much based on your symptoms and your own weight management, I would say. And nice to hear you're 2 years post surgery. Two more questions. This is should I avoid nuts with an ileostomy? So perhaps not specifically a PERT related question. Your knowledge on ileostomy is good enough to be able to answer that, or you can pass if not.
I think I'll pass on that. I think it very much depends on the type of nut. So it's probably better answered by a dietitian specifically.
Yeah, apologies. I would suspect it's all about blocking your ileostomy and not blocking it with a nut. It is too long since I've worked with people with ileostomy specifically on gastro type wards. Can I suggest that you go back and ask either your colorectal team or GI team for a better answer? I suspect you should avoid nuts, is my honest answer, but please go back and ask somebody with better knowledge. And then the last question that's here is, my husband is eating quite a lot of all types of foods, but is still losing weight. What would cause this?
It could be a range of things. It could be the volume of food you're eating. Again, going back to your PERT, you could be eating a lot, but if your PERT is not at the right dose, you can still lose weight. So making sure we're taking that PERT correctly, spacing it out, making sure we're getting the right dose. And again, if you need to increase it, making sure we're speaking to someone that's known to you or with the correct information to help you increase those doses. And that also it can be the types of food we're eating. If we're not focusing on that high energy, high protein foods, it can impact our weight as well. So it seems like it can be quite a few things that we need to look through, but those are all possible options as to why you could be losing weight.
Yeah, I think it's, if you haven't already gone back to the team and asked those questions, please do. Some people will find doing some gentle exercise improves muscle, and that can help put on weight. Getting the right type of foods or possibly some extra supplements if he needs some. And depends again how his bowels are moving. If he's losing extra water and nutrients through his bowels, opening too frequently, perhaps. And something, if you'd like to give us a ring on support line, we can try and tease out a bit better with you as well, if that's helpful. Right. I think it's just gone 7 o'clock, and therefore we should come to the end of the Q&A. So thank you everybody for listening. Before you go, I'd like firstly to say a massive, huge, big thank you, Anisah, for coming. Your first time you've spoken with us on Pancreatic Cancer UK on one of our diet events, and I'm massively grateful for you coming today and sharing your knowledge. I really hope everybody, I'm sure everybody's found it really supportive, so thank you. Nikki also in the background there has been weaseling away answering lots of your questions. So thanks to my colleague Nikki for your support in that. But I'd also like to say a big thank you to you all for taking the time to join us today. It's been lovely to see so many people. I know mainly I can see numbers, and hopefully I have seen lots of the chat. I've perhaps not caught up on all of it, and apologies if I've missed some questions. But it's been lovely to have you all here today, and I hope you found it helpful. So all that really remains to say on behalf of Anisah, Nikki and I, and all the rest of the team here at Pancreatic Cancer UK, is thank you so much for coming tonight, and we hope you found it useful. Information on how you can contact us for more support is in the chat and will be included in the email as I mentioned as well. Massive thank you once again, Anisah, you've been brilliant. Thank you. Thank you to you all for being here. And I'll bring this evening's session to a close. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
Bye everyone. Thank you for having me.